Hello everybody, we have another game on our speedrun with the black pieces against Mercaderos, rated 1238. He opens up with d4 and develops a knight. We're going to strike at his center with c5, to which he responds c4. So now we're kind of transposing into, what could be a Benko gambit, depending on what happens. I'm just gonna take. If he doesn't take, I might as well take, and now his central pawn is missing for my flank pawn. Good trade for me. I can now develop my second knight towards the center, contest his only piece. We could take towards the center. You could take away to develop your bishop, but that would give him the queen trade, which we don't want. So let's take towards the center. We now have two pawns on these files. He has only one. So he develops his pawn, which blocks one bishop, opens another. We just want to continue with development. We need to move a pawn to get the dark square bishop out. Let's play g6 and let's fianchetto our bishop, because this diagonal is open. He doesn't have a pawn on d4 because we took it. So now this bishop has really nice scope. That's why I decided to put it here. So he's moving his rook off of this diagonal because he sees that my bishop stares at it. That's fine. I'm going to match him and develop my rook. My rook doesn't have a pawn in front of it, so it has full range. So he pushes the pawn to dampen my rook, but this undefends the knight, so the knight is hanging at the moment. My bishop could take it, so do we have any good knight jumps? These don't really do anything, so we'll just keep that in our pocket. Queen a5 is a developing move that comes with threats. But then if he blocks with the bishop, your queen is staring at the bishop. So let's just castle for now. Keep it simple. So he develops his bishop. There's no threat. He just wants the castle. That's fair. I think now is a good time to break in the center, because that will open up our bishop. So let's put a pawn in the center. d5 opens up our bishop, our queen, and puts a pawn presence in the center. It's a little later than usual, but it's also okay. He castles. That's fine. Now, if we take this, is there a point? Probably not. I don't see the benefit. If we push it, he could even just jump his knight in the center. I don't really see the point in that. So I'm going to leave the pawn structure as is. And I guess I can develop my queen with a sneak attack threat. So I'm going to put it on c7, which looks like it doesn't do anything, but it actually threatens knight g4 double attack. And even if that doesn't happen, my queen is developed and out of the way of the d file, so I can put a rook there. So it's a 2-in-1 move. It's a modest developing move, and it actually comes with some threats because the knight is undefended. And now we're getting our queen out of the way, one step closer to connecting our rooks. So he blocks that diagonal, so we no longer have that idea, but that weakens the e3 pawn and the e4 square. So now maybe we can target the e3 pawn. A move like knight g4 immediately hits the pawn and the knight. The pawn is defended though. So maybe let's not do that just yet. Let's increase our development. Put the rook opposed to the bishop and the queen. See, now if we take the pawn, we're limiting his options. He can't take with the bishop. He would have to take with the pawn. Okay, so he moves the queen out of the way. That's fine. It also defends this pawn another time. I guess we can develop the bishop with tempo and just see what he wants to do with the queen. Maybe he goes here. He is going to kick it, but that's okay. Okay, so for right now, he puts his queen here. That's fair. What can we do? We can try to further break in the center. Oops, why do I keep clicking that square? With this, that looks like an idea. Yep, let's break in the center. Put both pawns in the center, supported by the c-pawn. All of our pieces are now pretty active, right? They're all, you know, controlling a lot of squares. And we have lots of possibilities. You would like to have, let's say, you know, 30 minutes on your clock to really appreciate and figure out the best moves, but now we're just going to play in the center, active moves, developing moves. We don't really have weaknesses. I mean, these pawns are a little tender, but not anytime soon. It's more endgame related. But in the meantime, the middle game is here, and his pieces are awkwardly placed and kickable. He could take this, which would open up the f-file, which is strong for him. The downside of that is the isolated e-pawn and bringing our queen into one of the 4 central squares with a threat. So it's pretty powerful. Okay, so he defends the threat and tries to stare at our queen. That's fair. I'm going to play in the center and push my pawn, relieve this tension, and attack his dark squares, which I have lots of pieces coordinating on. I feel like other moves kind of a waste of time. I need to be direct and forceful. So he takes the pawn. We can take with, we have a rook and a queen, but the queen makes the most sense. Yeah, otherwise we're going to be in weird pins. So let's take with the queen. He can take and try some discovery with the knight, but I don't really see which. I guess if he attacks the knight, that would be 1, 2, 3 times, and it would only be defended. Well, I guess I could always take this instead. So if he jumps, like I'll say he takes my queen, I take back. He jumps his knight forward. Oh, I just take the bishop. He'll take a knight. Yeah, his bishop's hanging. What am I saying? Thank God for this bishop hanging. Okay, so now it's not hanging, but this looks like an attacking move. I also need to get my rook out of this way, and this knight could be tender if it's unguarded. But for the time being, I'm going to attack the bishop another time while improving my rook, so it's for free. So I get out of this threat for free, and now I have room for my other rook. And my position looks good, nice and solid. A rook on the 7th before I move 20, can't complain about that. So now he's moving his rooks to defensive mode, and this looks so terrible, so passive. So that's okay. Now we're just going to move our other rook. Since he gave this open file to us, we're going to take it. Might as well, right? Now we might be threatening to double once we get rid of this knight somehow. We also could potentially take this, luring his rook here. Then we could pin, I guess pin, skewer the rooks. Neither apply actually. So he attacks our bishop. It looks like a waste of a turn, but we do have to move it. because taking doesn't offer anything. Moving it here allows him to trade and give us the structure. We could move it here and allow him to take. Let's move it here. If he takes, we get to double our rooks, which looks deadly for him. If he doesn't take, like if he goes here, we take this. Otherwise, his pieces are kind of stuck. So he takes, but now this is under attack, this is under attack, and if he moves his rook, the other bishop's under attack. So he might try to relieve pressure by ditching a bishop, which does make some amount of sense. But he still is going to have the fundamental problem of these two. So he moves his king, so it doesn't come with check. But is this a bishop? That's a bishop, isn't it? So that's a free bishop. So this guy didn't hang a piece till move 23. Not bad. And we're simply up a knight. Otherwise, he has a 3-on-2 on the queen side, which is good for him in an endgame, for sure. But we're up a piece, so that's good for us. He's moving his king, but of course, this is free stuff with threats. He goes back. I'll move one over, threats. Free moves, because it comes with threats. He might resign, he does not resign. He might now resign. He resigns. So let's go through the game. We have development and center. We have center and development. And this is center because we're removing his strong central pawn with a flank pawn. So just like in the Sicilian, that's the idea behind the Sicilian c5 on move 1, is you get to take one of their central pawns with your flank pawns, which is supposed to be slightly advantageous for you because it leaves you with 2 central pawns and him 1. So we take here. It's a forcing move. He has to take back, and now we get to develop with the threat on the knight. So it's just nice smooth development. Black has no problems here. He's gonna find good squares for all of his pieces. Forced move, and now we're the one with the developed piece instead of white. And now we just try to focus on development and king safety. Of course, you don't have to do that. You could play e5, you could play d5, but I'm going for g6. And now development, king safety. This is just development, and it's just trying to coordinate, so it's a nice developing move. We have king safety, and then we have center and development, and then we have development, center, and it comes with a threat. Now we have development and center. Now we have development. And now we have center. So move 14, we're now fully developed. Rooks are touching. 2 pawns in the center. We followed the principles nicely. We definitely should look for concrete lines. He takes, so forced move. And then here, your queen's in the line of fire, and if you move your queen, this knight is being hit 2 times here, and once he moves the knight, that's going to be a 3rd time if he jumps the knight like this, and potential 4th time. And you don't have convenient ways to necessarily defend it 3 times, let's say. So just to not deal with that, I chuck the pawn in the center. It also is a nice move, which messes with his knight. It clears up this tension so that now that the queen trade is on, and then once the queen's gone, this knight, I never have to worry about like keeping it defended with some weird moves, like rook d6. So he trades and he moves the bishop. I go here, and now I already like my position. I don't think it's anything crazy, but yeah, you see it's just minus 0.3. So it's like when you start a game of chess, white has an opening advantage of 0.38 for the first move, so now we have that advantage. So I know it's not anything crazy, you know, we're not up a piece, but I definitely prefer black here because this it kind of keeps him in a bind. Our bishop's good. This bishop is pretty active, stopping this diagonal. This rook can go wherever. So I slightly prefer black, especially mostly because of this rook as well. It's a very nice move. So he goes here, which is just, now his position is basically losing. He had to go rook f2 to try to get rid of this rook, but now with his rook here, he's in like a permanent bind, and I think it's just terrible. So now but still, even move 20, development in center, and this is forced because he attacked us. Forced and just completely winning. So just like that, it went from equal to losing, and that's why I prefer black. Like, you always want the practical position, the one that's easy to play and harder to make mistakes with, right? And now it's just lost, so it doesn't matter what he does. So that was a pretty easy, smooth game. Development, center, king, safety. This time with the g6 setup, a little different, but still following the principles. Hopefully that made sense to you. Good luck in your chess. Submit your rapid games.